here to do a wreath making tutorial. I am out of the shot so that you can see my table full of goodies. Now I probably won't use everything that is on the bar here, but I just left it here so that you could see what all I'm playing with and what I'll have to choose from. I'm going with green, lime, white, a little bit of silver, and a little bit of gold for my colors. I'm gonna do the tube wreath instead of the big fluffy, puffy wreath. I'm gonna do the one with the little tube rolls sticking out. Most of this came from Michael, just the ribbon. And then also I'm working with some Dollar Tree items. I got the little shamrock at the Dollar Tree. I got some flowers, and then I also have a little tube mesh. And then for my ribbons, I have shiny gold Christmas ribbon, and it does have a wire. I have a green shiny metallic ribbon, and I have a lime green polka dot to go with the lime. And this dark green goes with this dark green, and the gold is just a shamrock color. And then I have from Michael's a little shamrock ribbon, a little St. Patrick's Day theme. It does have a wire. And then I have some white tulle, and then I got at the Dollar Tree an extra little bag of pipe cleaners. I call them pipe cleaners, is what I've always called them, but my mom always called, I've always seen people online call them Chanel stems. I've never heard it called a Chanel stem in my life until I started watching YouTube, but as a kid we called them pipe cleaners. Maybe it's just a southern thing. So I do have that that I'm going to use to tie on the shamrock at the end. So you see it pretty much matches the shamrock color. So hopefully, if I get lucky, I shouldn't have to use too much hot glue, but I do have my hot glue gun handy in case I do need it. I try not to use those because when you hang these on the door in the summer in the South, your hot glue remelts and your stuff will pop right back off. So I try not to use hot glue. I try and use items that I can anchor on with a loop somehow to have it on there permanently forever and don't have to worry about the glue remelting, because it will. And then I also have just a little hot green glittery ribbon. So these are all the items I plan on using, and I will clear them away and I'll show you what to do first. Okay guys, now that I've cleared off my workstation, I just have my wreath form that I got at Michael's, obviously. And as you see, it's just a basic little wire form with little pipe cleaners on the ends of it. And then you'll go through and there are little sticks at random intervals on your form. So just go through and grab them and flip them all up. Try to leave as much of the pipe cleaner free as you can, because you will need every inch of length that these little guys have to offer. Try not to leave it too much wrapped up around it, taking up some of your space. Okay, so here we are. You'll have your form with all of your little sticks shooting up, and you're going to take your mesh. My primary colors will be the green, white, and lime green. And I use the lime green just so it'll be smaller little bursts, so it's half the size of these rolls, well, a little more than half, but whenever it's folded over, it'll just be smaller, so you get more white and green, a little bit less of the lime green showing through. So we're pretty much going for the darker colors here. And then this I'll use just every once in a while. So what you're going to do is obviously open up all of your wrappers. Have them all unwrapped. They are, I got the glittery see-through mesh that has the shiny lines going through it. And this one is just a dark green with the shine, a little white with a little bit of a silver gloss, and then silver with like a square checker pattern on it. So this one is a little more metallic looking. So what you're going to do is take a small section of your mesh and just go ahead and roll it in and get a pretty good cone size out of it. Like you're gonna want just a good little rolled section and go ahead and get an idea of where you want to start and cut it off. Just go straight down. And so now that you've done that, you have a good idea of how long each piece needs to be. I usually do mine about 6 inches long, give or take. A little bit more, a little bit less. It's all going to be rolled up in a tube anyways, so it really doesn't matter exactly how long it is. That just means you have more tube structure for each item. So just gonna get a little bit of a tube for each, and what we'll end up doing is making a little cone of each color, stacking them all on top of each other, bending it in half, just like this, and we'll put it on our wreath form in little stacks. So you'll see what I'm doing here in just a second. I'll do a couple more of these to get a good stack of greens going, and then we will move on to the next color. Again, I'm just doing little 6-inch chunks. I may do some more bigger, and I may do some that are smaller. Well, probably not smaller, but I may do some that are bigger. And I'm just stacking them all in the corner over here, so that you'll have a little pile of each color to work with. And as I go through and make my little cone sections, I'll just grab one of each color, and you can just go quickly from there instead of having to stop every time and do a cut every single section. So I'll just get a good start here and get a good little bit. I'll have, now on my wreath form, I have 16 sections, so I'll start with 16 tubes. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I need 8 more. So I'll start with 16 of each color in little 6-inch chunks. I'll just make a nice little stack for each. Now in theory, I might go back through once this is all said and done if I know that I have enough mesh left over and it's just not looking as full as I want it to look. I can go back and just do another layer on top of the first layer and double up on my little tubes just to add a little more fluff to the wreath. But most of the times I just need 1 layer because I'm going to be doing ribbon also on top of this. And we'll see how that works in just a second. Okay, I lost count. I'm just gonna do a quick little tube. Let's see about how I like it. And it's about 6 to 8 inches. So we'll just do little 8-inch segments down. And we'll do 16 of these. As you see, that one's shorter at that end and longer at this end. It does not matter. I'm not that picky about it because we are gonna roll it up and it's just gonna be one large cone either way around. So it does not have to be perfect. Some people are a little more particular. I'm really not. I mean, it's a wreath and it's gonna look gorgeous, I hope, either way around. So it does not have to be exact. There's not an exact science to it. That is how easy this really is. You do not have to be super straight or using measuring tapes and wire line guides and all that. It does not have to be that crazy. So I'm just gonna make 16 tubes as my second color. as you see, I have a nice healthy mountain of white spools. I'm just gonna set these to the side right now, and I can pull from the mountain later as we go. I'll move this to the side, and we'll do green. Again, we're just gonna do, since I already know about the size I need from the white one, we don't have to make an estimate or measure anything. I'm just gonna do about 6 to 8 inches on this one as well, and go to town. So here we go. Alright guys, I'm done with the green, and again, as you see, I have a nice little healthy stack of the green. I'm gonna move it also to the side. I have 16 dark green, 16 lime, and 16 white set aside and ready to go. And as I mentioned before, I'm probably gonna do just a little bit of silver in there, just get some nice little highlights. I'm gonna do a little bit of silver and a little bit of gold, and I'm gonna do it on every other piece of the wreath. And there are 16 total, so I'm gonna do 8 of the silver. And there is the silver. Move that to the bottom. So I have a nice little section of silver. I've got my green, I've got my white, and I have my lime. So I'll bring back up my white. So I'm bringing up the white, and I'll start making my tubes. So I'm gonna try and make this as efficient as possible. As you see, you have little tubes going everywhere, so you can either do them all at once and make your ring as you go, or you can cut them all as you're doing each section. I like doing them all at once. You see, it's a mess, but for me it works. So I have everything all at once. There's no stop and go, stop and go. I feel like this is a little bit faster. So I shouldn't need my scissors anymore. I'll just move those to the side. Now what I'm gonna do, now all of my wreath forms are stuck up, I'm going to grab one of each color. I have a white, I have a green, lime green, and I'll go ahead and start with one of the silver ones. The next one I'll do without silver. So I'm just taking my little tubes, scrunch them up so you have a skinny middle and big rolled tube ends. So you just have your little section here, and I'll do it with the next color. I'll try and keep this one wrapped around my little fingers, and I work with these nails. So roll it up. I don't worry about the ends, I just let them do what they do, and I'm just scrunching, making a little roll in the center, and the ends just kind of curl automatically and end up nice either way I do it. So I'm just gonna grab it and put it here, and then the silver, again, I'm just pinching from the middle and rolling at the middle, letting the ends do whatever they want to do. It turns out prettier that way. It's not as structured and neat and tidy. It's just kind of loose, curly, and it works. So grabbing that, and then so I have white, silver, and green, and then I use my smaller green one and make a smaller tunnel. Like that. And I'll just stick it right in the middle. So I have a middle, and what I'm going to do is just twist it, get a nice tight small bundle. You want everything as tight as possible, because when it goes into the pipe cleaner or chenille stem, you're going to twist it, and the more that's filled in here, the shorter your stick gets to add more into later. So make it as tight as you can. So maybe one more little twist, and that gives me a nice little chunk, and everything should be pretty even. So we have more green, white, and silver and less of the lime. So I don't want it to be as stand out-ish, but I still want it to be there and noticeable. So I use the smaller version. You just put it in and twist it 1 or 2 times. Not too many times, because again, the more you twist, the shorter it makes these, and you want them to stay as long as possible. So there is your first little chunk. You just secured your form. Keep your stems sticking upwards, because as you go, you're gonna stack into it, and then you'll have your finished product. But I'm just gonna go along and add my colors. And again, I'm gonna stop with the silver. I'm gonna use it every other turn. So this round, I'm just gonna do a green, a white, and a lime. And yeah, just stay tuned. I'm gonna spend the next little while doing this. Sometimes it's time consuming, sometimes it's not. Just depends on how many colors you have to work with, but it's just same idea over and over and over. A 3-year-old could help you do it. You do not have to do this all on your own. The kids can join in. If they're driving you crazy, mommy, I wanna help, let them help. Put them to work. All they're doing is rolling little tubes. A 3-year-old is fully capable. So here you are, just doing green, white, and green. So you have a nice little chunk in the middle. Again, I'm just twisting it to get a nice tight center bundle. I'm just gonna move to the next ring. So with this one, just gonna do the next one. And you just place it smack dab in the middle, and then twist it around it. Just a couple nice little tight twists. Keep it as tight as you possibly can. And there's that. Okay, well, I'm gonna stop talking for a second. I'm just gonna start rolling my next section. I'm gonna start again with the silver. And here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna stop it here. As you can see, I ran into a snag if you're paying attention to the colors. I have silver and no silver with one more in the middle, so that means I have to either pick a no silver or silver. One of them has to mesh because I can't go no, yes, no, or yes, no, yes. So as I've mentioned before, I just want to stress this is a prime example. This is not an exact science. These colors, they're all going to blend in. There's going to be 1,000 silver spokes. There's going to be 1,000 white, 1,000 green. It is not going to matter whether you have one little section that has 2 silvers side by side. So just do what you want to do. You can pick either yes or either no. It does not matter. All together in the end, you're going to have one big happy ball of green and white and silver. It is not going to matter whether you have one chunk that does or doesn't have it. Also, on the bottom, as you saw, I flipped it up before, we have 9 sections on the bottom as well. So what I can even do is do 2 silvers up here, and then the next one that meets where the 2 are going to join, I can do 2 no silvers here, and it won't matter. It'll all even out and wash out in the end. It's going to be beautiful. You will see, trust me. Just pick one, run with it, and it will not make a difference. So with this one, I'm going to do one that has the no silver. So I will save my double up for the bottom layer, where you're going to want it to be a little darker, a little shinier to pop through. I'll do my double silver on the bottom. So I will do green, white, and green for this section. As you see, I started with the top layer first. Some people start at the top, some people start with the bottom. Either way, it doesn't matter. Usually I start on the bottom layer so that I can stack. But in this case, when I put them in, I'll just lift them up, put them in, and lift them back down. So it doesn't matter if you start top or bottom. Then on the bottom layer, I'm also gonna do alternating half silver, half no silver, and it does not matter which way it starts because it's gonna be offset from the top layer either way. They're not completely even, like top and bottom. So here we go. Okay, so here I'm going to pause it. As you see, typically you're supposed to have 2 little pipe cleaners sticking up so you can twist them. One of my little pipes broke off, so this is another prime example of don't freak out, because what you can do is add in your own. So this comes in where I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I went to Dollar Tree and got my own little bag of Chanel stems or pipe cleaners. This will save the day. One little 1-cent piece of fuzz. What you can do is just go in and make your own little loop. Stick it under it, fold it in half, twist it about once or twice, and now you have your own version of the stem. So since I already have one, since this one's pretty durable, this is a little bit more flimsy, I'm just gonna twist these together and make one solid strand. Instead of having one thinner, flimsier link, now I've twisted them together and it's one stronger link. So I have this together. So crisis solved. Okay, so back to tubing. Now we are going to work on our ribbon. So we have ribbon, tulle, little tubes. I'm going to start with the ribbon and we'll work our way back. So I'm going to put little fluffs here and there. I'm going to add with a little bit of green. I'm just going to layer it. Put a little bit of white with the shamrock and a little bit of the lime. So every piece of ribbon that I have matches a different color of the mesh, except for the gold, but I mean, you have to have gold with St. Patrick's Day. I'm not going to use a whole lot of it. Again, where it was silver every other spoke, I'll probably do gold every other spoke. So I'm just going to go through and open all of my ribbon and go to town. What I'm going to do is grab my ribbon and just layer it the way that I would like it to be layered on the wreath. So I'm going to start with the biggest and work my way up. So I'm going to do the gold, I'll do a little bit of green, do a little splash of lime, and a little bit of shamrock. Like I said, this pretty shamrock ribbon just came from Michael's. You'll just go through and layer your ribbons however you want them to be done. And when they're in there, whether they match or not, all together you're looking for a single idea. And then we use a little bit of the tulle. I'll probably put it somewhere in there just to give it a different texture. So all together we'll have 5 different layers. And I'll cut them about a foot long and then fold them in half and put them in each of the little sections just like we did the mesh. So you have to be careful, it grabs everything. But here we go. So I'm just gonna go through and cut all of my ribbons to be about a foot long, and I'll just make nice little stacks of each type, and we'll go through and stack them all at once. So we have a foot long, and move these to the side now that I know that I am going to use all of those. I'm just going to go through and cut my ribbon in little foot long chunks. And again, it does not have to be an exact. This is not surgery. We are not doing anything fancy or special. We're just doing random lines. Okay, I have decided that I am going to do the gold every other section, just like the silver. Just with the gold everywhere. There's a little too much gold, and then if it's spread out, it's enough pops of gold that make me happy without being too gaudy. It's already shiny enough. I don't need too much bling. So I'm going to do 8 strips of gold, but all of the other colors I'm going to do 16 of. So every other chunk is going to have the full color spectrum, but half of them will have the gold. So I'll do 8 of these total. Alright, so here are my 8 strips of gold. And again, next I will do 16 of every other color. We're doing it in about foot-long sections. Nothing too long, but when you fold it over, you want a nice color burst. Don't want it too short. You don't want it too long, that much longer than the actual wreath. You want it just shorter than the regular wreath ribbons themselves. So we'll do 16 of these. Okay guys, as you see on the green ribbon, we are pretty much exactly out. This is 18 feet, so it's 2.5 inches by 18 feet of this ribbon. It was exactly enough. This is 16, this would be 17. This isn't exactly enough to save, so I might just go in on one of the sections and stack in 2 greens at the same time just so that I'm not wasteful. You can do that. It does not matter how many green polka dot sections you have. It can be double up if you want to, but I'm not going to waste it, and I'm sure not going to use it anywhere else. So I'll just have 17 of these and use 2 somewhere. So on to the next. I'll just make a nice little stack. There we go. And on to the next. Another little foot-long section and 16. Alright, as you just saw, I completely ran out of ribbon. It is the exact same size as the last one we used, 18 feet, but I used longer strips for some of them. So it ran out and ended up with exactly 16. So if you're gonna do this size wreath, doing 12-inch strips, you should pretty much get just enough on one 18-foot spool of ribbon if you're trying to plan and make sure you have enough. I usually just use 1 spool anyways, and if it works out, great. If it doesn't, oh well. I'm not gonna be upset about one section missing 1 color of ribbon. Because again, some sections will have 2 to make up for it. As you see, I did about 12-inch sections for my shamrock ribbon, and it was a shorter spool. It was only 3 yards, so it obviously didn't go nearly as far as the 18-foot ribbon went. I was able to get 9 sections, so what I will probably do, instead of going out and buying a whole nother chunk of this ribbon without making it too shamrocky, I will use the gold ribbon and this ribbon, and I'll alternate. 1 chunk with gold, 1 chunk with the shamrocks. So it'll work out to not have too many layers of ribbon in each section after all. Now for the tulle, I'll do the same thing, just little 12-inch sections. what you're going to do with your ribbon, you will do exactly what you're doing with the mesh. You're just gonna take one of each color, and in this case, one of every one of these, and layer it. Just get your ribbon, your tool, ribbon. You can do it in any layer your little heart desires. So in this case, we have green, white, green, and we'll do a gold on the bottom. We'll fold the gold over in half so that it's almost the same length, because otherwise, when you fold it over in half, it'll be covered, or you can fold it over back ways half so that the screen is on top. Either way, we're just going to give it another little twist so you have your sections sticking out, and we will separate them later once they're on the wreath. You have to be careful. This wire mesh likes to stick to everything, including itself. So we're just going to start on the bottom and do the bottom layer first with ribbon, and then we'll move to the top and do the top layer. So we'll do gold for this section, and the next section we'll have the shamrock. So we'll do a little bit of the mesh. Here is the ribbon version with just ribbons, no extra fluff or decoration. And when we go through at the end, we'll go through and push all these stems in, and we'll fluff everything up. What I'm going to go through now and use a little bit of the bow ribbon. This is just a little ribbon tube. I don't use it very often, but every once in a while I'll use it if I think that the wreath is not going to have a lot of actual decorations on its own. I'll just go through and put a few little fluffs sticking out here and there. So what I'm going to do is just grab the ends. I'm just going to take and make a loop and leave a little tail going both directions so that it can be anchored in with that. I don't want too much of a tail to stick out so that it looks like it has loose ends sticking out everywhere. I want the bow to stick out. So we'll just do another little twist, of course, and we'll just go through and add it into the top of the pieces wherever you see fit. So you just have little bows sticking out everywhere. Okay, so next what we're going to do, we're just going to clean up the edges on some of our ribbons. Instead of having a little jagged edge throughout the wreath, I'm going to give it a nice little pointed edge. So you can do it two ways. Either just do a classic little cut in, cut out, and you've got your little point like a cheerleading headband. Or you can do it another way, which is my preferred method. You just take your ribbon, fold it in half, and you'll take your edge here, obviously is the shiny edge, and then the folded rounded edge here. You just go up about an inch and cut it at an angle. So that way when you unfold it, you have your nice fancy little point. It just gives it a more finished, professional look at the end of the wreath. So we're just gonna go through and cut little V's out of as many of the ribbons as we can find. Okay, so as you see, I have my ribbons, I have my little strings. I have not separated them or fluffed it or anything yet. I'll get to that in just a second. I like to have everything in before I do my final fluff. I don't want to have to fluff too many times unnecessarily, but we're gonna go into the final decoration because everything is already in and ready to go. I'm gonna do the ribbon first. So I have a good nice bottom section to base my centerpieces out of. So I'm going to do a bow for the bottom, a shamrock on one section, and maybe a couple of flowers here and there. There's some flowers there, little flowers at the top half. So you have not too much and just enough. So a little shamrock here. I'm going to take my tag off of it. And flowers we'll set to the side. We'll cut them up here in just a second. The bow is going to be easy as pie. You literally just untwist the tie. So just untwist your tie. Pick a spot that looks good on the wreath. I'm just gonna pick a nice bottom corner and go in and find our little stems that we were using. And I'm going to use these and make a nice little loop to give the ties something to tie onto. So I'm just gonna fold it in half, turn it around, and make a nice little loop out of it. Got a little circle there, it's nice and sturdy, and then I'll go through and take this and put it through the loop. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm going through. So I have it through the loop, and we're just going to tie it in. So now we have the bow of our wreath. So that will be our bottom, and then we'll pick a nice spot at the top, probably do it off center a little bit. We'll just take it up here, grab a green stem, and we're going to go through each of the loops, take it across the middle. As you see, it matches perfectly. I'm just going to take it and tighten it, bring it halfway back, do a nice little twist to get it secure. So you have the sticks sticking out. And we're going to pick a spot on the wreath. Does not have to be exact because you can always tweak it and play with it as you go. We're going to find our wire ring. We'll unbury it. You see I found my wire. And we'll just take our stem and put it to the wire. And I just turned it upside down. And you can tell I have my green stems. I'm just going to pull it as tightly as feels snug. I'll just pull it tightly so that it feels snug, and twist it around a few times. Make sure it's not going anywhere. So this does not matter, it's the back side, you're not even going to see it. But we'll pull it to the front. And you have your bow, you have your shamrock, it's in there. And we'll fluff around it later to make it a little more detailed. But there's your shamrock, And there's your bow. It'll go on your door. You can always tweak it and move it around a little bit. There's that. And then we'll go through and put a few flowers in a couple of spots, just give it a little bit more decoration. We are not gonna get too fancy with it. Again, I try not to use too much hot glue because down south in Louisiana, the 100-degree sun will remelt the glue and everything will just fall off. So I like to use the pipe cleaners as often as I can. I'll use some more green. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take this whole stem, since I like all the flowers, and even if I didn't want to use all the flowers, I could just pop it off and just leave the stem and tuck it under. But in this case, I believe I'll use all the flowers. And even if I decide later, I can still just yank one off even after it's done. But we're going to use our flowers, and I'm just going to pick a spot in the wreath. Does not have to be exact, because we can always spread them out later. But I'm just going to pick a spot, and you see I got my stem out. It turns out where I want the flowers already has a section that we're tying into. So I'm just gonna take my stack and twist it around on top of one of my ribbon sets. So I'm just gonna set it in there and twist it. So it'll be set in place. It is not going anywhere. It's a pretty firm grip on it. So I can push it up or pull it back, but it's not gonna go forwards, it's not gonna go backwards. So I can push it through however I want. I can bend the stick to make it a little more flush with my front door. I'll flip that over to show you what I'm doing. So I push the stick through initially. As you see, I have the stick. And I'm just gonna bend it so that it will go flush with my door instead of sticking out. But yeah, I might even wrap it around the metal frame just for extra good measure. So there is one set of flowers, and I'll do one more on this side. Shoving it through an extra space, and then grabbing another section where I have my wires. I'm just putting it in between the wires, squeezing it and twisting it, just as before. I'm gonna push it quite through so that I get just to the base where the flowers start, so they're not sticking out too far. And I'll just grab it, squeeze it, and twist it. Okay, and so on the back side, again, I'll flip it over. You see the stick just came straight through. I'm just gonna bend it so that it doesn't stick too much into the door. You can just give it a nice little zigzag bend to make it a little more compact. It's just wrapped around the wire here to make it a little more secure. And as you see, I just lost a flower. Let's see where it belongs. Alright guys, everything is on the wreath. It is good to go. We're just going to take a moment to find our little silver stems and push them through wherever we find them, so you don't have too many unfinished edges. We're going to take our little ribbon tubes and try and separate them, and then all of your little silver sections we'll just take and fold them backwards and push them towards the back of the wreath. So they will disappear, and you'll just have a tube here and a tube towards the back. As you see, we have so much fluff that you really don't hardly even see your little silver wires, but eventually they will show through, so you want to make sure and push them back towards the base of the wreath as much as you can. But yeah, that is pretty much it. We're just going through and doing a few of the last little touches. There's not really a whole lot to it. I used a silver wire ring with the silver stems so that even if I miss a piece of the silver, which I just did 3 and you still don't even see them, so they blend in so well that you won't even notice. But here is the finished product. You have the St. Patrick's Day wreath, and I'll keep going through and just tweaking it here and there. Once I get it on the door, I'm sure I'll do a few last minute touches as well to just make sure that all of my little spools stick out straight. They have little cones everywhere. Nothing is too frayed. And yeah, here it is.